guys, how you doing? It's Rabea, hope everyone's well. So, the long-awaited Strymon Riverside has finally arrived at my humble abode, and that is what we're doing today in this video. The Strymon Riverside, it's Strymon's first attempt into the world of overdrive and distortion, however you want to look at it. They did touch on it a little bit with the Strymon Deco. If you remember, it had the tape saturation setting, which up to 12 o'clock sort of emulated the right sort of style that you'd expect from that era, and then post 12 o'clock it was their sort of attempt at, adding some proper saturation, some proper gain in there, so a clipping stage, as it were. And so the Riverside has been hyped big time, it's long awaited, and it's finally here. So visuals, super quick, it's a beautiful gold colour, and it's sort of, well, it's the same size as the Deco, the Dig, and the, all the other sort of smaller stomp boxes Strymon do. It's a multi-stage overdrive. It's an incredibly advanced overdrive pedal. It is Strymon, so of course they're going to do the best they can possibly do with their knowledge and expertise. So, it's a digitally controlled analog JFET circuit on input. So what I mean by that is when you put the guitar into the input, the first thing the guitar is going to hit is an analog Class A JFET circuit. But then it's digitally managed. So what that means is as you start turning this drive knob up, as you can see on the close-up, as you start turning that up, the DSP, the sharp processor inside the pedal, essentially reevaluates the amount of gain that's in the signal, and then it sort of moves around the sweet spot. So the cool thing is there are another 3 cascading gain stages beyond the first one. So the easiest way to look at that is going from 0 to quarter to half, 3/4 to full. So each gain stage cascades onto the next. So you're just going to get more and more gain. But the cool thing about the DSP is it starts to manage where the sweet spot is in that amount of gain, and then it moves around the area of EQ where it's going to be affected. So it's constantly checking and managing and evaluating where is best in terms of the settings that you've put in on the Riverside, which is very cool. But then you also have a couple of extra features such as a built-in noise gate, built-in boost, both of which are programmable and you can set them however you want. And then you've also got a 3-way presence switch on the back. And then the idea with the presence switch is that it sort of molds itself around whatever amp you put it in front of. So if your amp's inherently bright, then you put the presence switch to minus and it will duck out some of those high harmonic frequencies that you can hear. And then if your amp's really dull, then you put it on plus presence and it then adds its own harmonic elements to the high end. So you really can put this in front of most amplifiers and you'll get a good tone out of it. There's a couple of extra features. There's a couple of toggle switches that you can see at the top of the pedal. First one is to go between low and high gain, and the second one is a mid kick essentially, so you can go between normal and then you can add that mid boost. So that's really good if you want hard rock and heavy metal tones, even some might say some djenty tones. When you push that mid in, it's really going to give you more of a grunt sound. So that's very cool. Another cool thing about this pedal is that you've got the input for the favorite switch, so you can use that to control a 6 dB boost if you want, but also you can use it to control your favorite again, and that can be linked up to another Strymon pedal and so on and so forth, so that you can essentially recall your favorite settings across multiple Strymon pedals, which is very, very good for functionality. You can also put a expression pedal into this and it can control any parameter you want, so you can have it as as the gain pot, so you can use it to roll off the gain with your expression pedal, or put it all the way in, or volume, or more mid, and it's just an extra string to the bow of functionality that the Riverside provides. In terms of sound quality, it is, as all Strymon pedals are, incredibly high fidelity. So it's 24-bit, 96 kilohertz AD to DA conversion, which essentially means your analog to digital, digital to analog conversion is very, very high quality. And the sharp processor is a 32-bit processor. So the quality of sound and out of this pedal, it's pretty much as good as it's going to get. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using my PRS, Paul's guitar, and I'm going to use a Fender Custom Shop 55, and I'm also running this as clean as I can possibly get it through the Victory Sheriff 22. So I've got it into input 1, really low volume, masters quite high, using my 2 Notes Torpedo Studio, and then into my Universal Audio Apollo interface. So let's get into it. Okay, so let me give you my clean tone straight into the Sheriff. So there's very, very little, if any, saturation going on there. That's super clean. So let's push the Riverside in. As you can see, the gain's all the way down. So I want to hear the difference when I just push it in and see what happens. So I'm just pushing the master volume up a tiny bit just because I want to make sure that the difference between the amp and the pedal is as close as possible. I did notice there's a tiny bit more breakup with it on, even though the gain's all the way off. So again, this is without. At the moment we've got it on, there's no mid kick in and we're on the low gain setting. So let's see what happens as I start bringing in some gain. So yeah, I mean, there is a very mild amount of breakup there. These are humbuckers, so you are going to get the right kind of breakup from this style guitar. Given the fact we're on low gain, that the drive is really, it's only at halfway, so we're only just about to hit gain stage 2 as we're about to cascade into the next gain stage. So let's see what the EQ does. So as you can hear, the EQ really does affect how much of breakup you get from the pedal. It's all moving together. It's not like you've got gain here, EQ's all separate. It's like you move the EQ and the gain, sort of everything's supported. So that is quite nice. I do like that because that's a bit more my style of sort of tone shaping, as it were. So anyway, let's move on. I'm going to push the gain up now. So as you can hear, there is a lot more gain going on. I'm going to mess with the EQ. Even though I've taken the mid out a bit and I've boosted the treble, it's still not an unusable tone, and I've got it, again, lowish gain, but when you start playing those picked chords, so I've split the coil down on my guitar. Back in. Bridge. Split coil. Back in. It's a great sound. I'd say it's kind of it's an American style distortion, it's not got a lot of that British tone to it in terms of that barky mid-range, but once we hit the mid punch switch, or whatever you want to call that, the sort of mid tweak, then check this out. Suddenly we get more of that martially British bark. So it's cool. It's a great sound. Let's take the mid switch back out. And we'll put in a bit more gain. Again, resetting the EQ, just so we get a fair sort of comparison of what's going on. So let's just move the gain just above 12 o'clock. You can almost hear it engage there, that third gain stage, so let's check it out. Oh, it's lovely, really nice. What I like is when you lower the mid, it doesn't go scooped, it almost adds more gain. It's like it pulls everything in a little bit, makes it more focused. Very cool, very cool. So I'm going to push the mid switch back in so that you can hear with this amount of gain what happens when you throw it down. Splitting that coil down. Oh, it's great, it's lovely. I'm already loving this pedal. So, gains at just under 3/4, so this is going to be the penultimate gain stage, or the cascading gain stage that we could expect to hear. So let's have a listen. It's a beautiful sound. So again, let's mess with the EQ. It's interesting how when you mess with the treble, it almost feels like there's less sustain. But in any case, I'm guessing that's because it's a supportive EQ. Now, it's something that a lot of you guys out there probably, have talked about in the past or have seen discussion on, is the digital analog thing. My opinion has always been, as long as you get the analog part right, any digital enhancement you put on it is only going to make it better. And when it comes to the Riverside, it's a digital EQ section. Now, I actually personally think that's better, only unless you're an absolute genius and you find the sweet spot of the bass, middle and treble in your pedal. It's going to be a lot easier to achieve the right results when you're using digital, because you can computer analyze where's the best spot in an EQ band, and then you can program it into you can then design the pedal around that. So as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to tone searching, as long as the distortion bit's right, then the EQ should really be a tool to just find the better sound and enhance everything that you hear, rather than it just being because it has to be analog. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyway, seeing as we're still just before the last gain stage, on the low gain setting, you can hear it's a really crunchy, beautiful tone. So I'm just going to throw in some mid-range and see what happens. Oh, it's just so good. So let's take the mid boost out. Now I'm going to put the gain on full. We're still in the low gain stage, so all cascaded gain stages in now. Let's have a listen. I'd just like to remind you all what the starting block was. So here we go. So good. It's genuinely great. It's just the one pedal into a clean channel, like haven't done anything to secret or whatever. It's just sometimes distortion pedals and overdrive pedals, I don't like the way they mix with an amp. It's almost like there's a layer of distortion underneath sort of clean signal. If you really listen, sometimes you can hear that, whereas this, you can't even tell that amp is on clean. You'd assume hearing it that it's kind of a mix between a bit of crunch there and the pedal, but that again, without, with. Wow. Again, push the mid in. You really do notice you give it a little bit more saturation, you get a little bit more out of it. Crazy, so good. And again, I'm loving the treble, the way the treble pot works on this. You get that creamy sustain out of it by backing off the treble a bit. It's madness. So that's low gain setting. We're going to do the same with the high gain. I'll be sifting through it, but of course it all works in the same way. But before I do that, I just want to give you an example of how to create a favorite patch. So at the minute, we've got this tone. Great, so I'm going to save that. All I need to do is press and hold the favorite button. Once it turns off like that, now I'm going to go ahead and carry on tweaking. So that's a cool crunch tone. I want to go back to my high gain. So there you go, that is as simple as it gets when it comes to creating a favourite patch. And now we've got two channels of the same pedal. Brilliant. So now we're going to switch over to high gain. We'll breeze through this because I want to get onto using the Strat, so you've got a comparison of that and also a demonstration of the noise gate. So this is it, still on low, gain all the way out, push it to high, turn it on. let's start pushing some gain in. Now if I push the mid kick in, so it feels great to play. As I said, it's the analog JFET, the Class A JFET circuit on input. You get the feel, you know, you get that analog tone under your fingers, which is what you want. Anyway, let's move on. It's so good. Now let's take it over halfway on the gain and take the mid boost back out. Mid boost in. Oh, it's so good. And I said, I keep repeating myself, but the EQ is just brilliant. Oh, it's brilliant. Oh, mid punch. It's an insane pedal. What a beautiful amount of lovely sounding saturation and gain. Okay, so we've heard the PRS, now we're going to hear a vintage output Strat. This is the 55 reissue, so I'm assuming the pickups are the sort of 55 hand-wound pickups. So here we go, this is no pedal engaged. Put the pedal in. We're only just under a quarter gain and you don't really get much going on. If we push it just over, you get a mild amount of breakup. Just push it to halfway. I like it. So let's push the mid in and see what happens. Beautiful. Again, just pushing that mid-range, you get a bit more bite. So if I now have the mid boost in, but I duck out a bit of mid-range, push in a bit of treble. Now let's boost just over half gain. Again, sounds good. Mid boost in. Awesome. Let's push up that gain. So last gain stage. So this is the perfect opportunity for me to demonstrate the noise gate. As you can hear, too much going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the on switch, and now we're going into noise gate mode. So as I said before 12 o'clock it's off, as you can hear. So I'm going to have my volume on so you can hear me start to dial it in. So it's on the edge, I can push in a little bit more. Interestingly, when you try and hold the sustain with the gate on, it starts to choke it out and gets rid of it because it's fighting the feedback. But I do like the quality of the gate. I've heard different gates before. The ISP decimator and stuff is very good. What's nice about this is the ramp off, the sort of, do you know what I mean? Like, it's got a slow release, which is nice. It's really nice. Let's put it on full. So you don't get much sustain out of it. So let's back it back down to say, so now I can go in and add more gain. Brilliant. So let's go to high gain. Push the gain back down. I'd say that's about where we were just now on low gain, so this is what we've got left to play with. Full gain, why not? Let's push the mid kick right in, bit of mid, right, full bore. Amazing. There is one more question that should be asked, and that is, does it djent? Prototype 1 of my new signature model baritone from Chapman Guitars, and I'm going to give it a go. So this is without anything. So to answer that question, I've plugged in my prototype 1 of the baritone signature model coming out from Chapman Guitars, and I've dialed in a quick tone. Let's see what we get. So there you go guys, there is the Strymon Riverside, an absolutely awesome pedal. I always say this when we review a Strymon pedal, but genuinely they've done a great job. They've done what they do very well, which is digital, high fidelity, beautiful effects, and they've gone and made a hybrid pedal with the whole Class A JFET circuit, and then blending it, doing the whole DSP management. Stunning job. Stunning job. It's so easy to use, and again, it's easy to find a tone because of the way the DSP is constantly managing the circuit and the sweet spot, so you never struggle to find what you need. The presence switch on the back makes it really easy if you're using a dark voiced guitar or amplifier. Just use the presence switch to really find the sort of sweet spot in the high frequencies. And again, straightforward, simple to use, lovely design. Strymon, I love you guys. You do a great job every time. If you want to buy this pedal or you want to try it out, you can find it at Anderton's Music Company. They're £299, and you can get these from Anderton's or online anywhere you want. I would highly recommend it. As we've seen, it can do humbucker guitars, hard rock, metal tones, bluesy, funky tones, can do djent, you know, it can do pretty much whatever you want it to do. I think it's really possibly one of the most adaptive distortion overdrive pedals that I've come across. Hats off, thumbs up from me. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please check them out. Let me know what you think in the description box below. Like, comment and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me, and I will see you soon.